Everybody dreams. You know, sometimes it's gems, but a lot of straw around it. So we also dream nonsense, and there's all sorts of reasons. However, the secret is to know that the dream is really something. First of all, it should make sense or value. But secondly, you have to know you're dreaming while you're dreaming. That's very important. Now, so 20 years ago, when I had a dream that was connected with this, and I've had many, many dreams in my life, but that's not for tonight, which were powerful, which helped me. 20 years ago, I dreamt that I was in this massive library, massive, and a man, it's always like that, with a white beard and a white gown, took me through the library. And we went, you know, you see the British Museum, how big it is, right? And he took me to a section of books, and he says, see those books up there, whose are they? I said, no idea. He says, well, they're yours. And at that time, I was consulting, and I was doing a lot of other work for governments and large companies and all around the world, writing books. So that's what he said. Those are your books, you have to write them. He threatened me, but I won't talk about that. He says, you know, this is a price you're going to pay because everybody has to have a meaning in life and a purpose. That's your task. You might not do it straight away, but you'll do it. Now, at that time, unfortunately, our daughter passed away. And she loved the book of the Song of Songs by King Solomon. Shir HaShirim. Now, those people who don't understand that, trust me. It means the Song of Songs. And the reason why I'm mentioning it in Hebrew, because you'll see in a minute. Now, we all know that King Solomon was brilliant. He could understand the language of trees, of animals, and of course people. He knew 70 languages. That was King Solomon. Brilliant. Now, when he wrote that book, he buried inside all the secrets of this world, how it works and how it operates. So one of the famous commentators said, if you understand the first letter, the secret of the first letter, Shin, you will understand the whole of the Song of Songs. And if you'll understand that, then you'll understand all the secrets of the world. Powerful stuff. So I worked and I gave monthly lectures on this, and I had a big library, very large library, but about 30 or 40 of the books were old books with commentaries. And I wrote about 10,000 pages of notes. And I was writing them. Then one day I said, wait a minute, I put so much effort into this, but my name's not Churchill. Who's going to read it? You know, you have the war, the history of the English-speaking people. So you have 5 books. Churchill. Right? So I decided to extract from there some very, very significant things which I put into my book, which you've got, which, or you don't have, Think, Stand Up and Walk Tall. And that's to guide you and teach you how to handle all the problems, the challenges, the events, the chaos in your life, in every field. And in there are the secrets. And I bring stories which show in real life how they work. And it's helped thousands of people all over the world. And so I feel satisfaction from that. But I still did not find the secret of the Shin. Yes, all sorts of ideas, but it wasn't good enough. Now this dream. I see this guy back again. I mean, I don't know his face, but the way he was dressed. And there were 2 women dressed in the same way, of course without the beard. And the 2 women had a big chalkboard, a big board, and they were busy explaining to me the whole formula, and like a mathematical formula of the secret of Shin. I don't remember anything. But what he said to me, I did. He says, your task is to find out and create the Blue Wave Energy Project. So what would anybody do today? You go to Google and try to find it. It doesn't exist, not there. All the angles, not there. So I get quite obsessed when I do research, because that's how you have to be. And anyway, you don't say anything that does not have a real backing, scientifically and historically, and also from the ancient books. When I say ancient books, I'm including written by Adam, Abraham, Noah, and all the way through the ages. And it's fascinating. These books are thousands of years old. But that goes in detail in the next book, which covers this. And I have somebody who is a leading student in Spain, and we contact with each other every single day. I've taught him in enormous amounts. He's one of the Anastim means forced converted, his family. And he also became obsessed because he's an engineer, so he knows a lot of physics and science and maths. So it was a great pleasure working with him the last 3 weeks. And this is what I found. I said, first of all, I have to link the blue energy wave to that shin, the first letter in the Song of Songs. So what did I do? I started getting all sorts of ideas. I said, wait a minute, the blue. What is the blue? Well, in the temple, they had massive blue curtain in front of the Holy of Holies. Massive. And they say that about 50 people could carry the darn thing. I mean, that's how big it was. A lot of blue. But it's a special blue, and you might have seen Jewish people with fringes, and on the fringe they've got blue. That blue is very special. Why is the blue special? Because it's the reflective light that comes from this. The reflective light actually says, when you see that light, you'll remember everything. How can you remember everything? How can you know all the commands? I mean, you know, it's not 10, it's 613, no less. How can you remember them? Just by looking, reflective light. So at that time, I called up a very close friend of mine, and I said to him, tell me, what is the reflective on the spectrometer? At what point is blue violet? Okay, special because there's over 100 different shades of blue. What is it? You know what he said to me? 613. Exactly the same. So now I knew I had a lead. So now what I started to do is started to calculate from the name of God, right? Which doesn't matter, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, we all believe in this. One God. So, and all the time repeats, there's one God. What does it mean, one God? Can anybody explain? Most people, and it doesn't matter how much they know, cannot explain what that means. Now, one, the first letter in Aramaic and in Hebrew, it's made up of 26. Because you divide up the letter, it's got a little yud over there, and it's got a line over here, and another one at the bottom comes to 26. 26 comes to the name of God. 26 is translated through mathematical calculations and comes back always to that. So we have, first of all, the violet blue came to that. And then the shin came to that. And then I went further. DNA, the double helix, comes to the same thing, one. All going back to one. Even the mathematical formula within the DNA, the word DNA, is also comes out to the same thing. Then we look further. You have the quantum theory. The quantum theory is powerful because through the quantum theory, the scientists are looking for the truth of everything together. They spent billions of dollars in Switzerland with the with the boson, looking for the bosons, and they said this is God's gene, and of course they didn't find it, but they spent the money and quite happy to spend it. And the calculation there is exactly the same. Comes back to one, never God. We have cells make up everything in this world. Human beings, animals, flowers, trees, stone, everything has cells. Those cells are made up mainly of chromosomes and other parts. Those chromosomes also come out to one. And so I can take you through. Right now we have about 35 of them. But we can see all of the calculations, not only within the formula itself, but on the name, or go back to that. So now we're beginning to understand, wait a minute, they're spending billions there to try to find the answer to that question, because you say Allah Akbar in Christianity, you say there's one God. Everything is the same. We all believe in that. So when we believe in it in different forms, then we say, okay, here's the explanation. Everything that happens in this universe and binds it together is one. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, because that would take too long. But I'm now with the blue energy wave, and I'm also with the answer on Shin. And I'm not going too deeply into it. By the way, I'm thinking that after the holidays now, those people who don't want to wait a month to know more, I can have small groups and we can go deeper into it if anybody's interested. But that you tell me. So getting back to this. That blue wave, first of all, on the color spectrum, the blue is the shortest wave, but also the most powerful. Now, scientists have found that there are blue planets. That's the color. You look back, and I sent that out this afternoon, look back at the picture of Earth from space, it comes out as blue. It's a reflective blue. You find the sea is blue. You find that such a large percentage of everything we see during the day is blue. Now, so I check now on the scientific and medical side. And what do we find? First of all, you can have therapy. Of course, it's only scientific research, but they haven't started offering this, although some hypnotherapists do use it and some psychiatrists do use it, but it's not spread yet. I intend to do my part in getting that spread. And I'm going to help you to find how to use it for yourself and how to do it. Because what it does, first of all, the blue has an effect on each individual. It can help you with depression. It can help you with pain. It can help you with understanding. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. It helps you with all the human psychological problems that we all go through. But each one, by the way, and I mean, I've got a whole lot of university studies on different aspects, and we find that that blue ray, where, because when you look, don't we look at the sky during the day, we look at the sea, we feel relaxed. But this is a special therapy, and that therapy helps us. So now we've got the blue wave energy force, which is very powerful, because if you take the top of the scale, which is the holy one, which is connected with God, the top of the scale is white. The second level, which is justice, that's love, that's justice. The second is red. The third is, going down the scale, and you'll see why I'm doing this. The third way is red and white combine in creating violet blue. And that third level is peace, goodness, loving kindness, all the good things that we seek for in life. And many of us give that to other people. And it goes all the way down through 7 levels. There are other formulas of 10, but we're talking about this. And then it comes to the existence of mankind. Malchut. Everything on this level is how this world works, how it reacts, interacts with people, and it's the color blue. So we find, because it's the shortest way, it's there and it's the third one up. Now, it's interesting to note that the sun, which produces all of our color, and you dare not look at the sun because it's not good for your eyes, and also if you expose yourself too much, you can get cancer and other things. But that sun is covered in a sheath. Now, 2,400 years ago, it was written that the sun is covered with a sheath. Only 20, 30 years ago, a little bit longer, when they got the Hubble telescope, they suddenly discovered that the sun has a sheath around it. I'll explain to you why this is important for what we want to discuss. Light, but it's turned into the blue short waves, because everything, white light and every other type of light it's got 7 different colors. The rainbow's got 7 different colors. Dominant color in the rainbow is also blue. Now what's that sheath? Right inside the sun, the temperature in the middle is round about 10 billion degrees. Can you imagine how hot that is? You could really cook with that. And it creates all sorts of explosions inside, all the time, continuously. And yet, it doesn't burst forth to the surface. It doesn't, because it's got a sheath around it. They're trying to work out now what's that made of, how. Because our Earth is very, very hot in the middle. But we know it's got the crust around the Earth, and then we don't suffer every now and again. You have earthquakes, and you also have volcanoes, and so we do experience it. But here there's a sheath around at a different time. So first of all, it's important to know that what they're discovering today, they're discovering what was said thousands of years ago, and that's important to remember it, because otherwise I cannot use that as references for what we want to understand. So that blue energy brings to us in stages, it brings to us that energy that we are able to live and exist. Now, in other words, if there was no sheath, then the whole of the universe would be burnt and destroyed. Finished. That sheath protects it and allows for life. Those rays, even what comes out, is so powerful that if the blue energy waves would reach here, we would not be able to survive. Impossible. So it goes through filters coming down to us, and there's 10 filters. I won't go into detail now, but there's 10 filters. And the light comes down to us, and gradually when it reaches here, it is exactly the right temperature for us to exist and for the world to exist and create harmony in the world. Exact temperature. Now you may say, hey, wait a minute, today's hot. You take your temperature. How much is a normal temperature? Normally in our weather, we do not have such a hot day. But our body needs that energy and uses a lot of energy, and it is blue energy, and I'm going to use it later on. It is that blue short waves that give out the energy. The power of that energy is only in daytime. Because we have to worry about reflective light. You watch television or a computer at night, the rays coming out, that blue, can actually do you harm. And you might say, well, why? I'll come to that. I have a few ideas. So not a lot of people know about it, but you need to have glasses that filter out the blue so it doesn't affect your eyes. And it's a wonderful thing to use because you find that you don't have tiredness in your eyes, you feel much better, you're more energetic because at night it's filtered it out. What do we learn from this? We learn from this all the good that's given us in the world has a good side and a bad side. In fact, every single person has this fight inside against his good aspect and the bad and sometimes evil aspect. Many, many times you're in a car, you get mad with somebody, you'd love to crash into him and teach him a lesson. But first of all, you don't want to damage your car, and secondly, you don't want to be arrested. So you don't do it, but otherwise you have that desire. Sometimes, even your partner in life, your husband, your wife, the children, you sometimes feel you want to hit them over the head with something. But you held back. But there are people who don't hold back. And they even murder. And at that moment, you say they go mad. But it's to show you the more good you have, the more dangerous it could be. Because people, things, everything else, and that's how the world exists, this conflict. Now you say to me, well, why do we need that? I'll tell you this. First of all, there's freedom of choice. Each one of us can decide how we're going to behave, how we react, and what we do in our lives. And this is relationships in family or at work, or even within ourselves. We have that freedom of choice. If we didn't, we'd all be robots. So who needs robots? I wouldn't like to be a robot. Nobody does. So you need that freedom of choice. How do you choose what's good? If you decide not to do what's not good, and will not bad, and it's bad. As simple as that. Sometimes the law forces you, and sometimes you're good within yourself, but don't forget, everybody has this. And that explains fights in families, that explains many, many things that should not be there. But that's not the subject for the moment. Now, what we have to remember is that blue energy force, if harnessed in our favor, can change things. Now, I just want to add another little thing, which I spoke about before in previous talks, and that is gravity. Again, if you go and measure the gravity that the sun has, or black holes have, and in fact the gravity is so powerful that it's used by spaceships, once they're up there, the gravity of different planets as it goes through, pulls them, pushes them, and it's the slingshot effect. They don't need any fuel. So the gravity is exactly balanced. And the other day I thought to myself, how powerful it is. 8 years ago, they sent a probe to Mars. The way the scientists describe space with millions and millions of debris moving around up there, pieces that break off from different planets, etc. And yet, spacecraft got through. Never touched. Because there's an order to the world. So what's ours? Normally, with all this energy, we should have a much, much more powerful force of gravity. And that's calculated. We don't understand why until they came with the quantum theory and until they started to understand there must be filters. But we already knew there were filters. And what does it do? It filters down. Again, the blue energy wave is involved with this. It filters down. So when we walk, if it was slightly, very, very slightly stronger, we couldn't pick up our feet, we couldn't walk. It was slightly lighter, cars wouldn't work, wheels wouldn't turn, etc. You wouldn't be able to, you'd be floating like you're up in space. not as bad, but could be. So it's calculated right down. That calculation comes back to 1. I'm talking about the mathematical formula. So that's another powerful thing. Now, you don't have to go into mathematical formula. You have to say, wait a minute, if absolutely everything in this world, the physics, the science, whatever it is, all comes back to that 1. Now we understand what it means God is 1. Now we understand what God is 1. And therefore the connection between the two started off and triggered me off in developing all these thoughts. And there's such a lot more. But I wanted you to get that idea. Now let's go back to DNA. DNA is, after all, the building blocks of every human being, on everything on this planet. Those building blocks, the DNA, and I explained to you, there's 2. 1 is the name DNA. 2, you can take the double helix. It adds up to the same thing. And then you take the mathematical scientific makeup of the material that is there. It's got different stages and numbers like that. It's called the DNA energy wave, funnily enough. And that calculation comes out to the same thing. So we suddenly find it's not happenstance. It can't be. You know, the theory of chaos that you have, the string theory that you have in quantum theory is that whilst you have the chaos, and we have this in our lives, it all seems to be random, and yet within the random, there is a logic and a pattern. You know, I was once participating this time. It was an enormous number of people in the audience, and they were singing. And I said, look at this, look what's happening. You saw, front row was going that way, the next row was going that way, the next row was going that way, next row. Now, it's a powerful thing because it shows us within the chaos, because normally that wouldn't happen, it wasn't planned that way. So everything in our lives, even though it has chaos, it's got a logic inside. Suddenly something happens to you, and it could be a very serious or dangerous illness. It could be the boss goes bankrupt, or you yourself lose money in 2008. Millions of people, tens of millions of people lost their homes. There was a chaos. But if you search inside, there was also a lot of good. Because people have to find a meaning in life. A very close relative or close friend dies. Yes, he's gone. You have to mourn, that's true. But now you have to ask yourself, why am I alive? Why am I alive? He was such a good man or good woman, etc. Why am I alive? We have to find our purpose in life. Death is chaos. And yet within that there's a pattern. And within that we always have to think. So it helps us a lot to face our difficulties in life. An enormous amount. Because when we look at it, we have to try and see that positive side. What's good in it? Now some of it you say, well, that's impossible. Look, I explained to you before, when my leg had the problem, my attitude was, and genuinely, it's your problem, not mine. It's only the leg, what about the rest of it? It functions. It didn't enter my mind not to come tonight. Not at all. It was a challenge. Whatever the reason is, I don't know. That's part of the chaos. But it happened. But tomorrow I intend to go for the same walk. Because I'm absolutely determined to overcome that chaos. Now, a lot of people, they go into depression. And they can't function. And they can't get things done when they have chaos in their life. It's money, it's children, it's marriage, it's loneliness, it's many, many, many things. And I can tell you one thing I want to share with you. It's bad enough that your foot is hurting you, but you don't have to be also self-centered on it. You don't say, oh, what am I going to do? I'm stuck now for 5 weeks. Forget about it. It's because, so what happens? I remember my mother used to say, look, what you do is you're sorry about a broken leg. And you start worrying and telling everybody, and gradually you lose friends because they don't want to hear all your stories about, they've also center stage. You put your friends at center stage. So you end up with ulcers. Why? Because you can't work properly, you can't do things, and it's affecting your life. Then they didn't have this. They had plaster and crutches, right? I don't need them. Nobody needs them today. That's the great world we're living in. She said, what happens is, the leg is better now, and you're still stuck with the ulcer. So what you've done is you punished yourself for no reason at all. We can have problems in marriage. We can have problems with children. We can have many, many problems, and everybody does. So why should I give myself a double whammy? What for? I don't need it. When I had very serious heart trouble, and it was painful, I told everybody, and I meant it. Don't ask me what's going on. It's my heart's problem. And I meant it. Because it's plumbing. It has to be seen to. It was very dangerous. But again, you accept life. Not everybody, nobody leaves this planet alive. We all want to be able to live many, many years, and we also don't want to go with pain. We want to be able to go peacefully. But you don't know. And the biggest lesson I learned from that was, I went to the anesthetist, and I'm sitting there, and suddenly, the nurse comes to me and says, you can wake up now. I didn't even know what he did. But 10 hours later, and that's what it's all about. Because you do not have that consciousness. So that's what we have to do with everything. It's a question of our consciousness. And our consciousness, just think of this. The whole world and everybody in it is a harmony. You say, wait a minute, there are wars and there's all sorts of... No, there's still a harmony. Because countries and people interact with one another. It's not everybody's fighting and everybody's wicked and everybody's bad. No, it interacts the same as the whole of the universe interacts. So there's a truth behind it. And that's something we need to learn in order to relate to ourselves. Not to go through a university course, because then if I go into too much detail, then you landed yourself not something which can do something for you personally. And that is the side that affects your own life. Now, the blue energy, which I'm going to work on spreading that out, can be used positively. Now, I had taught you, those people who came before, and those people who have seen my book, I call it stand-up meditation, but I don't like the word meditation, because meditation means when you come out, you relax. You come out, you come to the same problems. They're still there. Nothing changed. But meditation is selfish, because it's you that's relaxed. Does that help other people? Oh, you can think it does, but it doesn't. You clean out your mind. Well, I don't want to be with nothing in my mind. I want to replace it with something. So I call it reflection, connection, mind, direction. And last time I taught everybody how to use this powerful tool to be able to do positive things in their life. Now, when we drive through life, if you're driving a car and you're keeping your eyes all the time on your rear view mirror, either you'll never get there, you'll never crash. With all that can happen there. You have to keep your eyes on the road ahead. Stop looking into the past, what happened to you then. Look at the present when you're driving, but the beauty is, past goes into the present goes into the future, immediately. So you're always in the future, because within seconds you're there. So always you're looking forward. Now there's a very, very important point. You're in hypnotherapy. I learned from a great man, he's unfortunately alive, one of the founders, and one of the people who developed it, called Milton Erickson. And he used to give a therapy where he was in a cancer ward, but we can do the same thing with ourselves, because I turn it into self-hypnosis. We do it to ourselves, and that is, he had this patient, unfortunately, who had every day, every 20 minutes, terrible pain. So he expected today, it's going to be every 20 minutes. And therefore he said, tomorrow's going to be like that. Well, there's no way to live. And he took, I won't go into detail, but he took him gradually through a series. Look, it's enough you've got the pain now. Why think of yesterday or the day before? Let's concentrate just on what you've got now. Think of the pain, live the pain, and don't think of tomorrow, because tomorrow it might be longer, or it might be a shorter time. And he carried on talking like this. The end of the story is that gradually the pain happened every couple of hours, and because he'd forgotten, he goes, oh, well, no, it's going to be like that. We have in our own lives patterns, and we say, well, if it's been like that, it will be like that. Oh, when I went through that problem, I went through a divorce. Terrible nightmare. So now I'm frightened to get married. I'm frightened to get married again. Why? I don't want to go through that again. I lift myself up, I'm in love, I feel good with a person, with my soulmate, but I can make mistakes. Or she can make a mistake, or he can make a mistake, whichever side you're looking at. So, but if you forget about that, don't look in the rearview mirror. Say, I'm living now, not yesterday, that's gone. I'm living right now. Now I'm building up my life. Whether it's on the financial side, whether it's on a family, you can have a kid who drives you mad. Now, I've had a few people who consulted with me, and one woman said to me, my 18-year-old daughter, it's so difficult with her. She doesn't clean the house, and she doesn't look after herself, and the place is a mess, and she's always having fights with me. So I turned around and said, tell me, what were you like to your parents when you were 18? So she gave me a smile. Now, I had this happen several times. And I said, well, think about it. Why don't you go home, get your daughter and say, you know what? I was 18. And I know exactly what you're going through because I did exactly the same thing with my parents. So let's be friends. Let's discuss it and work out together what I wanted, what reaction I would get from my parents and those circumstances, or, when it was good, the good reactions that I did get. The understanding. Let's do it together as friends. It didn't take a week. A week later, she called me up and she said, it's such a pleasure. We're such good friends now. And she stopped her nonsense. Most of the nonsense. So there are sometimes we must look at the past in order to relate ourselves to the present. We must not cover up. How many times, look, it's not a level playing field in life. How many times you do something to somebody else does to you and you're angry, and then that person, somebody else does it to you, and then you don't forgive him. So wait a minute, how do you behave? How do you act? How do you react? But you do the same thing. I've repeated this again and again, but we all got to get this into our head. When you're pointing a finger at someone, remember there's 3 fingers underneath, hiding, pointing at you. And that's the beauty of life. The beauty of life is when we see good people or bad people, they're all lessons to us, either to learn from that what to do and how to behave, or learn how not to behave. Why? Because life is like a mirror. You don't see your own, you only see your own reflection. That's a reflection of you in the mirror. But how do other people see you? And how do you see other people? So all of this helps us in trying to sort ourselves out. The wonderful tool we have is the blue energy wave. Because we can start using it in our own lives. Now, I am going to take you through reflection, connection, mind direction. We are going to, and I want to explain what we're going to do, and then we're going to find out something fantastic. How do we know that blue energy wave links to us? And how do we know this whole story that God is one and involved in absolutely everything and makes up is the single formula that physicists and scientists have been looking for? That one single formula. Two things. Professor Bohr, when he was speaking to Einstein about quantum theory, he said you must take the number 137 and you stick it on the wall. Because I've seen the formula, those pages and pages and pages, but it boils down to 137. And he says everybody's got to watch that, because if you'll understand the 137. Now, I worked out the integer number, by the way. It's 137, doesn't come to 10. But what it does is, if you take the integer, that means down to the decimal point, it comes out exactly to that. So it's even back there. So Einstein said, look, God doesn't play dice. It's not a throw of a dice. Everything is organized. So we have here. So I've written out, and I couldn't print copies for you, but that's the blue. You've got here, don't worry about being able to read it if you can see it. The first letter is your head and the neck. The second letter, take your hand, and you'll see it almost comes to the shape of the head, the second letter. The other hand gives you the second time it appears. The straight line, the letter in the middle, is your body. Now, if we remember that's the flow. The flow of energy in our body is blue, number one. And number two, it has to go from right to left. You know, you have priests who go like this, and they're actually creating a short. You must never put your hands there. In fact, what I want you to do is to see what happens. Don't touch your head. Put your hands close together like that. Do it. It's very, close like this. Much, much closer. Can you feel the energy heating up in between? Powerful. But what happens with the light? You don't have a filament in the middle. You get a short. You get a fuse. The same thing with us. So that energy has to flow right to left. Right down your body and right through the other side to the other side. That's how I treated the pain on my foot. You make sure. Now, many of us, because we did not know it, we have the channels are blocked. It doesn't flow through. So that gives us pain, that gives us depression, that gives us all sorts of negative things in our life. We concentrate on the problem, we don't concentrate on the solution. Instead of dreaming and painting a picture in our mind of where we want to be, not this should be solved, forget about that. It doesn't exist. Paint in your mind where the outcome. It could be a happy marriage, it could be finding a husband or wife, it could be getting a good job that you enjoy. It could be many, many things in your life, but you must paint that picture in your mind. How do you see it? You see your husband, your children, or your wife, and you see different things because you have to keep in your mind the outcome. It could be a business deal. It could be the type of house you want. It could even be the car you want. It could be the personality. You want to go help other people. Paint that picture in your mind. Do not think of the current problem at all. It doesn't exist. And when you paint that picture in your mind and focus on that, you find you're suddenly lifting yourself away from the center stage. And you're now looking at other people differently, life differently, things differently. because you're concentrating on that picture. Now, reflection, connection, mind direction actually helps you to do that. But in order to have that, the energy flow has to go all the way through the body. Now, how many blocks? So suddenly you've got a pain in your shoulder, you've got a pain somewhere else. You've got some other problem. You feel in here tension, right? Or in your head, you've got headaches and you feel tension. What we got to do is clean out the channels. It can take time. But you know how we do it. I'm going to show you something. I had difficulty. I managed to get something stronger, but it didn't arrive in time. But it doesn't matter. I want to show you. I hope you can all see it. Can you see my hand, the blue? Okay, now that's reflective blue, and it's exactly violet blue. You can see it? Now, I want you to imagine when we started, and I teach it to you, the violet, the blue that you see, I want you to imagine your hand actually is generating that energy. I want you to imagine, I'll get you to paint that picture in your mind of the actual blue, that reflective blue that has such power that it should, your hand becomes that energy with that color blue. You concentrate on it. Now, it might not happen immediately, but we're going to try together. Now, what we do is we're going to, together, each one of you will paint that picture in your mind based on your own problems. And it'll help you if you close your eyes. And it's true, I can see people with their eyes open. It's a shame. Don't miss it. Okay? Try it and you'll see what I mean, whether you believe in it or not. Well, you close your eyes and you think of that picture on any of the problems you have, where you want to be or what the outcome will be, and paint that picture in your mind. However extreme it is, however difficult you think it's going to be, you have to believe to make the impossible possible. Now, when you've got that picture firmly in your mind, and people who are in hospital and are lying down, they can do exactly the same thing. And people in a wheelchair can do exactly the same thing. They concentrate on this. The most powerful thing here is stand up like the tree in the forest and force your mind up, concentrating on the how the tree pushes up towards the sky, towards the blue. Imagine the green and the blue. But you can do it sitting down. Now, I want you to now imagine this. You've got now this reflective blue in your hand. Keeping your eyes closed, I want you're going to open the hands on the side of your body. Now open your palms. If you concentrate, you actually feel the energy coming in. Slowly, you're drawing down energy from the blue in the sky and from all the energy, blue energy that's coming down to our level. Now, as soon as you feel that energy, concentrate on the blue. Concentrate that your hand is actually generating the color of that energy. Now, what you have to do is slowly direct your hand towards your foot on the right side. And you move it around and you slowly bring it up. You actually feel the warmth up the leg to the knee, slowly moving up to your armpit, slowly moving around the inner arm, and slowly up all the way to your shoulder. Then you take your blue laser hand and round your chest, and you feel the energy coming from your hands till it's there. And then up the right side of your face, up on your ears, your chin, your cheek, Always keeping your eye, keep it there a little bit longer so you can actually feel the energy having an effect on your eye. And then over your head, where the energy will come down into your head. Now let the other hand take over. Keep that hand there so the energy is still flowing. And then move down. Keep going down your ear, the side of your face, your neck, across your chest, down. And then when you come up, inner arm to the outside, and then keep going down, and your back, the energy there, and then keep going down, all the way down to your foot. Concentrate on that. Pull it up again, all the way over your private parts, and down again to the bottom of the other foot. Hold it there and feel that energy. But think at the same time of the picture you painted in your mind and the determination that that is where you're going to be. Do not think for 1 second of your problems of today, because they're no longer there. It's looking through the rear view mirror, and that's all you're going to see. You finish your own life. Concentrate on the road ahead. Feel the energy and feel good. You feel the difference. Now if you do this every night, every morning, or whenever you have tension, we all get tension. It's the usual cycles of the human body. You stand, it can take 5 minutes, it can take 10 minutes, and just do that. It will make all of that conflict go away. It'll make all that bad energy go away, because you've opened up the channels. The more you do it, the more it has an effect. And I can tell you this, as I said to you, there's an enormous number of people, some people sitting in this room, enormous number of people who get the video, so a couple of hundred people get the copy of this video, and different parts of the world where it's actually made a change. And I want to give you one example. We have somebody who has MS, and I started to work with him about a year ago. And we're writing almost every day. Now, MS is a terrible thing, especially when it comes with vertigo at the same time. And he actually was sentenced to having a catheter in all the time, and also terrible headaches and losing his balance, and it was difficult for him to function. About 3 months ago, doing this, painting in his mind, no catheter, he doesn't have it in there. Doctors are surprised because it's a long, long time before they were due to take it out. And the vertigo he controls, he's functioning. And you know, MS, people give up. He did in the beginning, no longer. Now I've taken that as an extreme, it is an extreme case, but it shows you how powerful it is. Each one of us have a problem. Remember that everybody has a problem. Nobody's going to tell me they don't have a problem. It's usually somebody else is your problem, but it's really you. And so therefore, if you do this, whenever you are tense and you feel you need to relax, or you get nervous, or you get upset, take yourself aside, do it for 5 minutes, it'll help you. And the more you do it, the more it becomes part of you and a habit. So when we bring all of this together, we know that we're blessed inside of us. We have the support of one, and that's only goodness. Even in this world that we all create ourselves, what other people do for us, but you can't get everybody to do this. I wish you could, but we're trying to get more and more people to do this. And the blue energy wave. I will be sending you, when you join up at Eliyahu's Inner Circle, you will get short videos telling you much more about the individual treatments that are available and that you could use. When I help people, I don't charge. And that's how we should do with everybody. That's meaning in life. We'll find what's real meaning in life? Our families, our children. Real meaning in life is helping old people or ill people, people who go volunteer in hospitals, instead of thinking and saying, oh, I feel terrible and I can't function and you can go and help people who are worse off than you. And I always tell people, you've got a problem? I suggest you go to the cancer ward at the hospital and just see how people are. And in actual fact, I had 250 people on a podcast who I took them through this from all over the world in order to help a woman who had a very, very serious accident. Now, I can't tell you if it sent her the energy, but where did it send the energy? The fact that she knew 250 people were concentrating their energy on her. What is the beauty now is they could finish all the procedures which we were having difficulty with, a lot of pain, I'm not going to get into detail. And so it can be used. And what's even more powerful, you can use it with people who do not even know you're doing it for them. After all, don't we have this thing where, give a prayer for somebody who's very, very ill. So they get a whole group of people to do that prayer. And that person they don't even know that person doesn't know them. Because it has an effect. To what extent, we don't know. But it all has an effect. If we generate goodness and caring and sharing, it helps other people. So that is the key. I want you to imagine this. That the energy that we have inside of us is very, very, very powerful. But we have to know how to handle that energy. Now, when you open up the channels, as I explained to you, we get what I like to call the downloads. Now, I'm going to tell you this. A lot of people come out with brilliant ideas. They think it's their own. It's downloaded. A scientist even, or a physicist, or a doctor, he's sitting there in front of the patient and he tells the patient what they've got and he knows exactly what to do. And you'll say it's experience? No doctor, nobody's gone through all the experiences. But there's a tipping point. A tipping point. Because we have the big brain. We have the small brain, you have the big brain. You have the small soul, you have the big soul. And that is like the cloud in computers, in internet. Everything is in there. So you have this massive power that can calculate everything for you in a moment. You can't find a computer or a bank of computers could do those calculations so quickly. And actually download into your mind something that nobody thought of before. A solution that comes. And the big mistake that people make is to say, I solved the problem. And I usually say to them, tell me, when did you first hear it? No, I thought it through. I said, when did you first hear it? I'll tell you when you first heard it. Is when I heard it. As it came out your mouth, that's when you heard it. Because that's the power that we have. And if we develop it, and I've given you the method to develop it, when we develop it properly, then we can really make a change in our lives. And we must take this very, very seriously. We are the cause of all of our own problems. And once we admit that to ourselves and don't pass the blame onto other people or happenstance or circumstances, it always comes back to us. We're responsible. We can either walk away if it's not the right relationship, or we don't trust the company we're working with, or the people that work with us. We're always free to walk away, but we stay. For all sorts of fears. Well, how am I going to make a living? I don't want to live by myself. Or, that's the only thing I know how to do. It's just not true. We are the source of our problems. The minute we look at that and remove the blame from circumstances and other people, or our childhood, and many, many other things. As soon as we remove that blame and start thinking of ourselves where we stand, then those problems start to fade away. Because you then are the one who can correct it. And you're always free to walk away from a relationship or a business or working deal. You're always free to make that change. That's where we have the freedom of choice. So once we realize this, and we can open up that channels of knowledge through the blue energy force, we can change our lives. And that's what I want to see with each and individual person. This is my purpose in life. That's my meaning in life. And what you should do is, when we do send you videos and other things, pass them on to other people. Get more people to see it. Then you have a purpose. Why do you have to keep it to yourself? What for? You know, with tax, you have to pay tax. You have to pay a portion. So, and I once mentioned this to you. There are 3 types of people born in this world. Because how can you tell I can trust that soulmate, that person for me, or that person that I want to work with? How can you trust it? Well, there are 3 types of people born in this world. One is somebody who wants to receive, whether it's knowledge, blessings, money, whatever it is, and love for his self alone. Run away from that type of person. And then there's the second type, which is almost just as bad. A person gives in order to receive. Got an ulterior motive. And you say at a certain point you stop because he's already got what he wanted. Or she's got what she wanted. Those people are also dangerous. The only one you must look out for is somebody who wants to receive time, knowledge, money, whatever it is, and love in order to just give. That's all they want to do, is to receive in order to give. And those are the only people we must deal with in our lives. No one else. And run away or walk away. How many times has this happened to you? You've gone into a room, there's a whole lot of people there, and you see somebody, or it could be even a salesman, and you feel very uncomfortable. You don't know why, probably a very good person. You feel uncomfortable. You want to, and sometimes with my wife, I said, out. We're going out, we don't have anything to do. Why? Because you feel the negative vibes. How many times we walk into a room, suddenly we like that person, we feel good, we feel relaxed. That's the world of souls. That is soulmates. And soulmates, people find each other. And you've got to feel right from the beginning on everything that we do. Everything that we do, we must remember. The first thought is the final result. It's a principle that goes back thousands of years. The first thought is the final result. You can say, look, I don't trust him or her. And somebody persuades you, oh, give them a chance, it's not like that, they really have a good side. It always turns out that it's not good. And if your first thought, this person I feel comfortable with, this person I can work with, this person I'm going to marry or become a close friend, that first thought actually happens in the end. So we have to know right at the beginning, never ignore those first messages. Like I didn't ignore my dream. And I haven't finished on being obsessed with it. Because when you go on and you uncover the reality of this world, you start to see death and tragedy is a terrible thing to go through. So what do we have to do? Here is a case where you must look through the rearview mirror. You must look through the rearview mirror and you must think of the good times. Don't think of their illness, don't think how they died, don't think how they went away. Just celebrate their life. Just think of that. And we all have loss at one time or the other. And that's all we have to do, is to think of. Now, suddenly you lose all your money. 2008, we know, or you lose your house. The attitude has got to be, look at the wonderful times I had in my house. I had a good friend in Mondsea 30 years in one house, and they kept on putting up local taxes. And he come to a point where he couldn't pay it, so he had to sell his house. And I said, well, how are you feeling? And he said, terrific. I'm thinking of all those 30 wonderful years I had in this home. Brought up family, had children, grandchildren. Now I had the benefit. If we will look at absolutely everything that hits us in life, only think of those good times. Don't even think of the problem in front of you. There are problems, practical ones. The bank foreclosed, suddenly you don't have the credit line, suddenly you can no longer keep your house, or you can't afford the rent, or you can't afford the mortgage payments. All these things happen. Somebody very close to you gets very ill. Somebody close to you lets you down. Concentrate on the good times. And then keep moving forward. Because in most cases, it's not going to happen again unless you cause it to happen.